What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is AkeemHaynes. I'm a two-time Olympian, Olympic bronze medalist, author, motivational speaker, and sports commentator. On my channel, we talk boxing, MMA, track and field, and of course, motivation and encouraging content. If this is something that you enjoy, then I hope that you subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into the video. Artem Dalakian versus David Jimenez. What do we think of this fight? This one is happening under the Artur Beterbiev versus Anthony Yarde card. And it's a championship fight. Dalakian will be defending his WBA flyweight title, which he's held since 2018. This will be his fifth title defense. Can he defend it for a sixth time? Well, let's get into it. Let's start with Dalakian. 21 wins, no losses, 15 wins by way of knockout. Now, this is his first fight since, 2021? So 2 years now, right? So off the bat, when I see that, it kind of worries me a little bit, right? Because he's 35 years old now. Now, inactivity could work two ways, right? Like it could work with you because it gives you more time to rest and to recover the body. And sometimes less is more. Or it can work against you where it takes you a little bit longer to repeat that old sharpness at a quicker rate that you once had because you had youth on your side. However, I'm going to sway to the side of benefit of the doubt because he's a championship fighter who knows how to handle the championship fights, but just a question mark to keep in mind as we move forward. Dalakian is a guy to me that gets comfortable the longer the fight goes on, right? The warmer he gets in the ring, the more we see him do work, right? He doesn't start fast. Instead, the fights that I've seen of him, he uses the jab to judge the distance, right? To see how his opponent's going to react. Jab to the body. Sometimes he might flick to the head. He might follow that up with a few added hooks, right? But it takes him a few rounds to find the angle and the attack and for him to get comfortable in his groove. Now, he doesn't sit in one spot. He's a constant movement guy. You can see even when it's moving, there's some tactic behind it, right? Like he's trying to find the best way to get on the inside where he can land his shots, but also to see what your footwork is like, right? Like, what are you like as you're reacting to what he's doing? Now, he can flip the switch in a second once he does find that opening, right? He doesn't look like he's a guy that throws a lot of heavy punches, right, in his shots, but that's not the case. I actually think he's got very good punching power and very good pop in his shots. And he knows how to close out the show if he gets his opponents hurt, right? And you have to be careful with him, right? Because he can lull you into a shot, right? And the next thing you know, you're on the canvas. What I mean by lulling you into a shot is, right, like you could be following him, right? You're following the head, but you're not seeing what the lower body is doing. And he pivots a foot and that's followed by a hook or a jab that sets up another shot, right? So you have to meet him where he's going to be and not just go get him at where he's at. When he fought Sarachai Thalian, he got lulled into fighting Dalakian's fight and he got caught and was on the canvas, and that fight ended a little bit later. But in Dalakian's last fight against Concepcion, I thought he looked good, right? He was accurate when he was on the attack. He counterpunched well in that fight. He's always going to take his time and fight on his terms. And against Concepcion, he was comfortable in that fight, right? He was a step ahead of him all night, in my opinion, and he lulled him into some shots. He can have you thinking he's going to step to one side, and the next thing you know, he steps another way, and it's followed by flurries of shots. I mean, that's what dropped Concepcion in that fight. So there's no doubt that he's a championship fighter and a champion for a reason. My concern goes with the layoff, right? The thing that I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt on, right? How sharp is he going to be coming into this one is a big question for me. He's already a slow starter, not a big volume puncher. And what if he's in trouble early in the fight? Right? He's a rhythmic fighter to me. Once he finds his groove, right? He's hard to get out of groove. But again, we'll see what he looks like inside of the ring with the layoff. As we know, Father Time is undefeated, right? So we'll see how it is. We'll see how it is. Now let's talk about his opponent, David Jimenez. 12 wins, no losses, 9 wins by way of knockout. This is a great opportunity for him to possibly grab a title, right? While he might not have a lot of professional fights, he's had over 350 amateur fights at any level. That's a lot of fights, right? So he does have that fighting experience, even though the number doesn't equate to the professional just yet. But he's undefeated right now at this time in his career. So he's been doing pretty well in the professional setting so far. So this is a guy who's going to leave everything in the ring, right? You will have to take him out to stop him. You will have to knock him out to stop his pursuit from him coming forward. Moves well in the ring, uses his feints, right? Subtle level changes. He's a good puncher who goes to the body. He's skilled, but sometimes he fights with his hand down lower than it needs to be. And while it may look good inside the ring, you can get caught with a shot that may put you on the canvas. Jimenez doesn't lack confidence by no means. And he's not a guy who was afraid to mix it up and brawl if needs be. In his last fight against Ricardo Sandoval, which was a close fight, right? I thought that one could have went either way depending on what you were looking for, but he had to really dig deep and fight to win that one. He was battle tested in that fight, right? He was holding quite a bit, right? And in that 7th round, he lost the point. So now you get to see who he is in that sense of adversity, right? In terms of when you've lost a point, it's already a close fight. You could be losing on the cards. How are you going to respond? And you know, in boxing, you never know how the rounds are going to go in the judge's eye, right? So he had to turn up things a little bit, but Sandoval didn't make it easy for him. And he kept coming forward, kept letting the hands go, and kept being the aggressor in the fight. He hurt Jimenez to the body a few times in that fight and had him on the run a little bit. But I thought Jimenez came back and landed some good shots of his own, including that counter right hand that dropped Sandoval in the 11th round and put him on the canvas. In the 12th round, he caught him again and had him wobbly a little bit as well, too, because for the last 40 seconds of that fight, it became a slugfest, right? So there's no quit in Jimenez. He's tough and he believes in his chin and his strengths, and he ended up getting the win that night. I thought his head movement was really good in that fight as well. So credit for him for fighting back, even with the loss of point, and getting the win. That's not an easy thing to do. And I actually think some of this fight could play out like the David Jimenez and Ricardo Sandoval fight, right? Where you see someone hitting the canvas and they have to fight their way back and find a way to win the fight. Jimenez is going to make Dalakian fight, right? But how much is Dalakian going to engage? Will the pressure be too much, or will the experience help Dalakian get the win? So who wins? I personally think this is a 50-50 fight, and you could go either way. And I think it's kind of a tough one to pick outright. Who I pick today could possibly change the day of, right? But for me, I'm leaning towards Dalakian. I think the experience in the championship fights and the championship rounds will be a key piece ingredient in this fight, even with the inactivity. If Jimenez is going to come down with his hands low like that as he did in the last fight, and he did get trouble in that fight, I don't like that situation for him, because with Dalakian's reach and jab, he could have a lot of success using that jab and establishing that range early and fighting from a distance, right? So I'm leaning with experience here, even though I thought Jimenez fought a very good fight back and showed us how tough he is and that he does have the tools to win in pressure situations. I'm leaning towards the guy who has been in more pressure situation moments in this fight. But again, I think it could go either way. So should be a good matchup. I'm taking Dalakian to win by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning? Let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you would like to support by way of donation, you can find options in the description below. Also, my Cash App handle will be on screen as well. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly, greatly appreciated. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video this long, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.